Hello, historians. This is Mr. Fredo. A very exciting topic today because we get to look at the people who made the Reformation what it was. Just like in the Renaissance, we looked at the leaders and their actions and their inventions and their creations, the things that they did to make the Renaissance what it was all about. Today, we're going to take a very brief look at the people who took action and exactly what they did. In order to be considered a real protester, like I said in the last episode, you actually have to do something about it. You can't just sit back and say things under your breath or subtweet people. You actually have to get out and do something in a meaningful way. So we're going to do a quick flyby on about 5 different reformers, and we're going to talk briefly about what they did so that you have a very clear idea of exactly what it means to protest and what that action actually looks like. We're going to start with Yanhus. Yanhus is somebody who a lot of historians consider to be one of the real first catalysts of the Reformation. He was responsible for preaching directly against the Catholic Church. And in doing so, he attracted their attention to the point where he was burned at the stake. He was killed publicly because of his preachings and because of his teachings, and that attracted the attention of the Catholic Church. But essentially, in his preachings, what he would do from the pulpit as he would preach to his congregation, he would go against what the Catholic Church had said. And that was a big no-no because everybody knew that if you did that, you were running the risk of excommunication. Jan Hus believed so strongly, he had a whole group of followers called Hussites. He believed so strongly that the Catholic Church was focused on the wrong things like wealth instead of just religion that he was willing to risk his life for it. He probably would be considered by more historians as a greater reformer if he didn't come around as early as he did. He's in the 1300s, which means he is pre-1450. That's a key date because that's when the Gutenberg press was created, and that allowed some other reformers to really spread their ideas much more quickly. Next one, very similar, John Wycliffe. He is someone, in terms of his action, he is really known for a lot of his writings. Now, again, not as popularized because, as you can see, he's pre-1450. But again, he attracts the attention of the Catholic Church because his writings are distributed about as much as they can be prior to the Gutenberg press. He's declared a heretic, which essentially means his life is over. If you were declared a heretic by the Catholic Church, you were somebody that people were not supposed to be associating with because they went against the teachings of the Catholic Church and they were considered an outlaw. Now, where it really heats up is with Martin Luther. And the next several reformers we're going to look at are post-1450 CE and post-Gutenberg press. Martin Luther is considered by many to be the person who really starts the actual Protestant Reformation. Remember, there's 2 sides to the Reformation. There's the Protestant Reformation, that's when people challenge the church, and then there's also the Catholic/Counter-Reformation, where the church is going to strike back against them. Anyways, Martin Luther is considered by many to be the person who really launches the Protestant Reformation. Number one, because the time in which he does it, he comes around at about 1517 CE when he makes his big public declaration in the 95 Theses against the Catholic Church, but also because he was a Catholic priest. This is a big deal. This isn't just some wild maniac standing on the corner yelling things. This is someone who is a part of the church. So he has the essential quality of any reformer, and that's credibility. If you really want people to listen to you, you have to be credible. Martin Luther certainly was because he had dedicated his life to the Catholic Church. His 95 Theses is essentially a big list of 95 things that he claims the Catholic Church is doing wrong. Specifically, he's targeting them about their sale of indulgences. King Henry VIII from England, he's a little bit unique. He has a disagreement with the Pope because he wants a divorce, but the Pope won't give it to him. So instead of fighting with him and going through the rules of the Catholic Church, he starts his own church. He starts the Anglican Church, something that Martin Luther also eventually does. He creates Lutheranism. That's another big form of protest, Lutheranism. But Anglicanism is what King Henry VIII starts upon his dismissal and his dispute with the Pope of the Catholic Church. So anybody you see who is responsible for writings, starting their own church, publicly preaching against the Catholic Church, those are real reformers. They're not just whispering something, they're doing something in a very public way. John Calvin's the last one we'll look at from Switzerland. He's also someone who's going to start his own church, becomes known as Calvinism. But all of those are big examples of reform and protest that actually make a difference. And again, like we talked about with the Renaissance leaders, there are so many others. These are just 5 that we did a quick flyby of. And as always, it's not just what these people did, but it's also about what difference does that make and how does it affect the Catholic Church based off of the actions of these many reformers.